Well, what's the crack? And welcome to episode 13 of the Harden Up Podcast. Of course, I am Tom Mahony.
And I'm Owen Colden. 13, unlucky for some, Tom.
I knew you'd say it like a bingo caller.
I would love to be a bingo caller, but I was never asked to do it. But do you find the number 13 unlucky?
No, I don't. And I've looked into, I tried to watch a program about the code and numbers down through the annals of time. It was on I was on Netflix, and I was expecting this fella's going to talk about the Anunnaki, and he's going to talk about fucking codes and the stones, you know, like Stonehenge and the Hill of Tara. And my God, this fella would bore the fucking flaps off you. I got about 4 minutes in, and even herself was fairly open-minded to these things. She's fairly, you know, holistic. But even she looked at me and said, "Tom, that fella's giving me some dose." You know?
Was he just selling some shite?
What he was is he was a professor of numbers. I don't know how you become a professor of numbers, but Jesus, it was, they shot the thing like a fucking bad horror movie. Everything was do you remember when you'd be writing an Irish essay when you were a young fella?
Yeah.
And you had to turn a corner quickly in the story, and you'd write "Good Hubbin." Do you know, like that's what every moment this cunt was going, "Good Hubbin." You know,
oh, I got you. Yeah.
We chose to watch the show. You don't have to gussy it up to make it look like some weird, you know, fucking like you're trying to uncover a crime that the numbers did 1,000,000 years ago. You know, it just got weird.
Yeah. So you wouldn't mean superstitions or anything like that at all, no?
No, I wouldn't be. Fuck it. I mean, in saying that, would I ever cut down a white thorn tree? No, I fucking wouldn't.
That's meant to be full of witches, is it?
If witches or fairies or something, I wouldn't do it. I just wouldn't fucking do it. I don't know why. I've gone into so many building sites, and planked in the middle of it would be either a white thorn or a black thorn tree, and no digger driver, and all these
hard. Go into it?
No, they wouldn't cut it down. The site would have to be built around it.
Wow. My neighbour used to be all telling me when I was younger about fairy forts and how if you ever trample over a fairy fort, it'll haunt you for the rest of your life. So myself and my brother, we went out and we just started kicking the shit into this fairy fort. It was just a little lump in the ground, but we thought we were brilliant because we were just kicking the shit into this kind of lump in the ground. But then, like, we thought there'd be fairies and shit like that after us for a while after, but nothing ever came back from that, you know?
Yeah, I have the notion of you going like a complete savage at this little mound, and all of a sudden, "Hiya, what the fuck are you doing with our place?" Oh, wrong. Sorry, boys. Sorry.
But you know, up the end of the road there as well by our house, we used to get dropped off on the nightclub. He'd never drive down the road because the road was too small, but the road was about a 5-minute walk, and you'd be running down to the house, and the winds would be blowing, and there'd be like nighttime, the moon would be full. You'd be fucking nearly thinking there'd be ghosts down the road.
Many's the time now late coming down our road as well. Now just the taxi bus. Are you talking about the taxi bus?
The highest bus you'd get in the 90s where it would drop you to the nightclub. And see, I'd be shitting myself if I walked down that road, so I get steamed up. But when I knew the bus was leaving that night after the nightclub, I'd have a couple of whiskeys. So then when I did get to the end of the road, I'd be like, "Come out the fuck." I'd be shouting in the middle of in the middle of Mayo going, "Come out the fuck, you ghost." And I'd be shadowboxing running down the road in pitch black. But I'd be fucking shitting myself. But I get into bed then and I'd have a while to fall asleep, but you know, you'd be scared enough in some of those old Irish roads.
Our road now, it wouldn't be it's decent enough road, but again on a windy night, like, and coming down off the Galties, the fucking wind would howl down it. Like, but the amount of ghost stories, they fucking loved them around our way.
Oh yeah.
Apparently, there was a fairy fort inside in the field next to us. Now, lads have built in there since. The windows all rotted out of the house in the first year. You know, these fucking...
Yeah.
These strange fucking things that they put back to the fairies. Nothing to do with the fact that there might have been shit windows that went to the house, like, you know, or fucking post wouldn't get delivered there for fucking 6 months. And it's like, yeah, but the postman was fucking foreign and he didn't know they lived there, you know.
Yeah.
But
he didn't have the air code.
Still, when you're like, again, when you're 18, 19 years of age and you only grew up in that area, which that was it. You didn't know fuck all else. Now, our fellow would typically chip up the road, but many's a night I got dropped off steaming, just going, "That's where you're fucking getting out, lad." And I'd have a good 10-minute walk. And yeah, I mean, fuck it.
Like, you feel the pinch?
You'd fucking feel, I'm telling you. I left the bike inside in the ditch one night. I said, sure, I known I was going to get dropped off. So steamboats, I cycled the bike back the road. And I went straight over a fucking badger.
Oh, no.
Oh, and I could hear the fucker coming running up the road at me for a good, like his nails were on the road and I couldn't see a thing. Because this is, for anybody listening who's from any sort of an urban area, when you look out your front door, you see other stuff. When Owen and I look out our fucking family doors growing up, you don't see shit.
Yeah.
It's fucking darkness. There is no street light. Fucking, and I could hear this his nails clacking up the road. I was like, oh, it's the fucking banshee that my mother told me all about. It's the fucking banshee. Great. Lo and behold, it's the fucking badger. Drove straight over the top and the fucker bit me on the leg. And at the time I was scuttered and I wasn't fully sure was it a badger?
Imagine you got murdered by a badger. That'd be enough way to go. What happened, Tom? Oh, he was taken by a badger. Have that on the gravestone.
Are badgers the only violent? And I suppose they're not even that violent, but as you said, you couldn't fucking fight a badger. Do we have anything else that could fuck you up?
The mink is like the bank badger, I suppose you'd call him. He's like a smaller version of the badger, and he's a bit more aquatic. But he'd give you a nip on the bypass if you weren't being cute.
That's a great phrase. He'd give you a nip on the bypass if you weren't being cute. Don't mention mink. I wasn't going to bring it up, but the mother will probably listen to this podcast now and hear me saying it. But trauma at home. I was down home a tip last weekend, but for the hens all fucking bled out. The mink. The dirty fucking mink.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Up to the house and fucking bled them to death.
They went into the house and fucking bled them. And they kill for fun, you see. At least a fox.
Do they?
They do, yeah. But like that, she thought they died of some fucking disease. She thought she'd avian flu or something. But the next thing, I had a look at the neck, and they're like vampires, little fuckers. Although they put 4 holes in the neck, they bleed them out and they drink the blood. And they left the fucking 4 hens there. Oh, she was in an awful way.
So they didn't even take the chicken off them. Just
no. They left the fucker there. Left the hen there. Left 4 hens.
That's bad. There's badness in them mink. So a badger wouldn't do that. A badger would eat the lot.
A badger would have the good manners to fucking eat the lot. He'd take him away out of your sight. A fox might
he'd take it away in a doggy bag. I do like the badger though. I actually seen one the other day where I was driving back the Ballycroy Road about 9 o'clock at night, so it was kind of getting a bit dark. But just as I was coming down the road, this badger, this massive fucking badger, I didn't know what it was. I thought it was a dog. But he ran across the road and then he stood in the field and I just looked in at him and he looked back out at me and we connected in that moment. But they're scary creatures. I thank God I was in the car.
Well, could have been the fucker that bit my leg. I heard he migrated to fucking the west of Ireland somewhere. All right.
He's trying to take down our podcast. He doesn't want us in the charts. Fucking Joe Rogan.
I don't know how we're doing the charts. We're doing decent on numbers anyway. I think anyway. We get a lot of fan mail. All right, in fairness. The old, for anybody who's wondering, like, you'll probably watch this at some stage on the video. There's a dog behind me that is not a badger. She's just an extremely unkept schnauzer. But what a fucking life. I am a fan of the badger. But yeah, the fucking mink. Apparently, there was a mink farm years ago back the road, maybe about 10 or 15 miles back the road for their furs or whatever. And when the mink trade, the arse fell out of the mink trade, when the fur trade became very unpopular, they all opened the fucking door, let them all out. And with no natural fucking predators here in Ireland, they ran amok. Most crowds with the mink farms, I think they dealt with them. But some fuckers, they just opened the hatch and let him off. Lo and behold, the bastard went in and bled the mother's hens. I know this is some graphic stuff. I should have put a warning at the top of this. Could be people triggered, hen lovers that are triggered. Listen to this.
The thing is, though, how do you protect the hens and the chickens from the mink or the fox or even the badger?
Oh, well, there's no protection from a badger, Owen. If a badger wants in, he's fucking getting in. Do you know what I mean?
But what about this? A floating hen cage that floats on a balloon over the sky throughout the night. So hens are now in the sky sleeping and they're like 10 meters above the ground. So there's no fox or badger or mink getting near them. And it's like a floating cage. so you can actually see inside the cage. But
keep going. No, I'm
diesel-powered.
going to push you for this now. Go on. So it's a diesel-powered,
and there's going to be no like NCT on it because of the whole epidemic. People don't have the money.
Yeah, but they're not going to be pulled for the NCT for another 4 months. I got the letter the other day. Mine's not due last month, and it won't go into October, so they're fine.
Brilliant. Well, let's scrap that part of it altogether as well. So basically, these floating cages, but they actually they attract the sunlight as well. So they're solar powered.
So it's a hybrid floating cage.
A hybrid floating cage that has a pipe coming out the side of it, and that's where the chickens just sit on. And they plop out their eggs.
Down into, are we talking like one of those chutes that you see on building sites? Or will they be like little like hankies for, like little hankies for parachutes and just landing down softly?
I'll tell you what, did you ever see like in Behind the Counter or Sintra when they're doing a money drop?
It just sucks up.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. You have it, Tom. Congratulations. You've now imagined the floating chicken farm.
That was one of the most fabulous things you've ever fucking said. In all the many hours of podcasting we've done. This is the route we need to be going. I'm glad we've got some weird shit to talk about today. This is great. Great. That's set me off in a right. I wish I had more beer to be drinking. This is fabulous stuff. People, if you've only just started listening, take off the shoes and socks and put up the feet somewhere because this is going to get silly. What I should have been doing there was I should have had the whiteboard and drawn what you described to me. Maybe we'll do that another day. Let your fantastic engineering brain just fucking ad nauseum, just talk, and I'll fucking draw it, and we'll see can we come up with a fucking invention of some sort.
I like it. Yeah, let's draw a picture next time we're doing a podcast.
The opposite of Pictionary. Like where people would learn very little only to see how badly I draw and how wild Owen's descriptions get of things. I like the little pipe out the side that the hens get to sit on, to perch on.
Yeah, but that's the pipe that sends the eggs down to the individual houses. So it'd be a huge new industry for plumbers. And
we're talking diesel powered. Is there a propeller system or is it pumping helium?
Pumping helium into a massive like leather bag, but the leather bag is actually made of fake fur.
Oh, how ironic that it's actually fur friendly.
It's because we're also trying to suggest that we understand that the mink and the badger are part of the Irish ecosystem, but come on, lads, give the chickens a chance. That's the quote. That's the slogan. Give the chickens a chance. That's on the side of my van when I come over to your house and install the floating device. Give the chickens a chance. And I have my own charity that I'm running with Richard Branson. He flies lads over to the Bahamas to look at it.
I don't know.
Look at jambon-fed chickens. The healthiest way to feed chickens.
I don't know. That's actually that's the buzzword now. That's it. Jambon means the end of the podcast. Thank you very much, everybody. We're only 15 minutes in, but that's it. That's the end of the podcast. Owen has ended it with the word jambon.
It's my safe word.
That's when you knew you dug too deep. You're like, there is no backing out of this. How can I crowbar jambons into things? Jeez, and all I wanted to talk about was Mike Tyson fighting Roy Jones Jr. in his 50s. Fucking hell.
Should that be happening?
Absolutely, Owen.
Tyson was old, isn't he?
Yeah, but steroids are brand new. Do you know?
True, yeah.
Fill that man up with testosterone fucking replacement, hormone treatment, and fucking drugs up to their eyeballs, the two of them. It'll be a charity fight, so there'll be nobody testing piss afterwards. Jack them two boys up and fucking let them rip. Who wouldn't want to see that? Is
Tyson stuck for money or what's he doing for?
From what I heard, he invested in this new crazy idea of floating chicken farms.
Sounds like a good investment, actually, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Apparently he's doing grand, but sure, maybe a fellow to get an old figuri, as they say down, out the country. He got an old figuri for fucking scrapping again, like.
Yeah, maybe he got taste for it again.
What do you reckon a fella would be like? Because they reckon if you're getting, you're in your 50s or whatever, like Joe Rogan is so full of fucking hormones replacement as well. Like they reckon, I think we were talking about it the other day about The Rock. The Rock the gear he's on is about 12 grand a month. They reckon the good gear he's on, like, he has the testosterone levels like of an 18-year-old young fella running around like a wild fucking horse. So
how is he keeping his heart so strong? Like, how do all these American athletes keep their heart in check? Because God knows what The Rock is taking, or the likes of Mark Wahlberg, or fucking whoever else is jacked.
For sure. Who among them lives beyond fucking 60? Do you know?
Yeah, true.
You know,
Hulk Hogan is about 60, isn't he? He's more, maybe.
He is. He's mid-60s, actually. He's holding... Yeah, he's done well, and that man has definitely done a lot of gear, like.
He's done a lot of gear over the years, yeah.
Yeah. So I reckon... Well, Tyson's flying it with the weed farm, isn't he? He has a big old weed farm on the go.
Yeah. He's got that podcast, Box. I think it's called Box In or something like that, but it's a very good podcast. He had a great interview on there with Tyson Fury. Two of them were having a great chat.
Tyson Fury.
That's where I go with. I can't do impressions at all.
Just
I'm even going to try.
Smoke a load of fags.
I think he got punched in the throat. That's what happened to him. But it sounded at one point like he'd been on a piss up for a week and smoked 40 John Player Blue.
Jeez. Are Johnny Blue's still on the go?
They are, they are. And sometimes you spot people smoking them and you'd be thinking, fair fucking play to you for not giving them up, because I smoked them for a year. And I was like, at the end of it, I was like, what am I doing to myself? These are tearing me throat apart.
Johnny Blues were just the worst, like. Although,
they were.
I remember lads, like real farmers, used to smoke. Do you remember Major? They were in a green box, and you'd slide up the box. And
yes,
They were only they were only like 2/3 of a fag, because they were so fucking strong. You couldn't, but still to this day, my father hasn't smoked a fag in 30 odd years. And still, he'd describe a Major as, "Does a fucking fine fag." Do you know?
Yeah. It was number one nearly in the smoking world.
But definitely for farmers and cultures, like, they fucking loved a Major. Like,
I used to work in a shop in Galway called Vivo. It's called Gala now, but I used to sell this box. I think it was called Player, and it had no filter at all in it. It was just like one king size fag, but it had no filter. And he'd come in 2 or 3 times a day and buy a box of them.
stop.
Yeah. And there'd be I think there was 25 in the box.
Did it have like a sailor or an anchor or something on the front?
I think it did, yeah, it did.
Fucking hell, you want to be hardcore smoking fags with no filters, like.
Oh, Christ. And he was in, as I said, 2 or 3 times a day in to buy a box each time. And he'd have one lit before he even walked out the door. Smoked his brains out, he did.
And that man now is Tyson Fury.
It's the best shape of his life. Did you ever smoke yourself, Tom?
Yeah, sure, I smoked way too much. That was my problem. I fucking loved fags. And plus, I smoked most of my fags when I was in the buildings. And sure, everybody smoked. And
the buildings are an awful place for smoking.
You'd have to go up the road and you'd have to up the site and you'd have to meet a fella about a thing. And next thing you'd be discussing it, he'd go fag, and you say fag. And before you know it, you'd be smoking one of his old fucking Johnny Blues rank. And I'd smoke Marlboro Reds. And I go fag, because it's only fair to give him back one. And before, that was 2 fags over one fucking conversation. And then I'd have to tip off up the job. And before I know it, I'd have a fag between that and the next fucking spot. Should I have fucking 30 or 40 fags gone that day? Because everything is outdoors.
How long were you smoking 30 or 40 per day?
I probably worked up to that. I reckon that was probably about a year. That was my turning point when I realised, Jesus. I went on the rollies to slow me up. Because you'd have to roll a rollie. Yeah. And rollies weren't worth the fuck in the rain. Do you know what I mean?
That's right, yeah. No, rollies are strong enough, though. When you get a good belt of a rollie, geez, you'd feel it.
You would, but you can. It's better stuff, though. You know what I mean? It's only pure tobacco. Like, you know what I mean? Like Golden Virginia there, Old Holborn. Old Holborn, though, was rough as fuck.
Yeah.
I knew a fella, he'd smoke a full 50-gram pouch of Old Holborn in one day.
Oh, fuck, God. You started, do you?
This fella.
He'd have soot in his throat.
This man, he sounded like somebody pulled the exhaust pipe off a fucking TW25. He drove a digger, and I hope the man is still alive. And every morning I'd meet him at 7 o'clock and I'd walk past and he'd swing open the door of the fucking cat. Hey, Tommy, how are you getting on? And you knew he was already on about his 5th rollie that day. And he'd smoke it down to the butt. His lips were brown in one spot.
Sucking his fingers, yeah.
And he'd smoke it down to the butt, and he'd always have something foul to say in the way of lovemaking, shall we say. And it was fucking, Jesus, Tommy. Well, And at the time I was single, like, and he'd always ask on a Monday, it was, well, Tommy, his depiction of, did you meet a girl and take her home, and did you do both have consensual love making? His description of that was, well, Tommy, any old bull over the weekend, He was just pure fucking.
Jesus.
Oh, he was hardcore deep. But his heart was in the right
Old
place.
school, I say.
Oh.
Yeah.
But now, that was rough stuff. But no, I smoked a rollie. The only way you could smoke a rollie in any bit of wind, rain, or fucking adverse weather was, like you described before, in the claw.
Yeah. Do you know, before, like, I never really smoked that much until I was about 17. But I remember one time, the first time I ever did smoke, I was 16, and I was working on my, I was going to the Swinford secondary school, but at the time I was working on my national school with two lads from Ardoyne. We were in there, and they were telling me these crazy stories from Belfast and how they used to be going to school and people would be throwing like water balloons filled with piss and all these other stories.
Well, was it a building job over in your primary school? Yeah,
it was a building job. Right. I was back in my primary school, but now I was kind of like an adult, and I could walk around the place and I could look into the rooms, and it was kind of very weird to be there. But during one of the lunch breaks, the Ardoyne boys goes, "Do you smoke any hash?" And I was like, "Not really, no." But they said, "Here, take a pull of that." So I took a load of pulls of this joint of hash. I just thought it was a rollie.
Oh, Jesus.
I thought I'd be grand. So my first time ever smoking was actually smoking hash. And then I was inside the school doing my bit of, like, I was doing like basically a shite version of carpentry. I was just like getting rid of paint, and I was nailing in a few nails here and there. But there was one point where I just spaced out completely. And I was looking around and I was like, what? I couldn't understand what I was doing with the hammer in my old school. I was that fucking like confused from the rollie and the hash. But that's a bad combo, the rollie and the hash.
The hash is gone, I think, is it? Or is it still not? It's hard. Yeah.
There's a new version of it, because back in the Galway days, which were like 12, 13, 14 years ago, there's loads of hash coming in from Egypt or somewhere like that, but it was full of plastic and full of... But nowadays, it seems like they've got some good hash knocking around the country.
Yeah, because it seems to be, from what I hear, to hash is a thing of the past, all right, but it might come back a bit retro, I suppose, would it?
It might do, yeah. It might do. I think, though, weed is the big thing now. Do you reckon they're going to legalise that in Ireland, or...?
To be mad not to. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just, sure, let people off the fuck. I'd say the only people that would be annoyed by hash getting, or weed getting legalised would be the vintners, the pub owners.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know? Because you're like, hold on, we're your only fucking source of legal fucking drugs around here. You're not getting that you know?
Yeah.
So, like, they reckon Colorado did more takings in their tax coffers in 1 month than they would in a whole year from when they legalized weed for the first time. But they're growing it up the road here in, albeit it is medicinal stuff or it's hemp stuff, you know what I mean? It's high into CBD or whatever. They're growing it, there's 10 or 15 acres of it growing up the road here.
Like, you know, I don't know if the pubs are going to go back to the way they were with, like, you know, queues at the bar and everything like that. So I'd say if they're going to be turning bars into like places that serve food, then they should maybe try to combine maybe bars with, I don't know, maybe places that sell marijuana, you know. Because when you go to a place like Amsterdam, at least you know what you're going to get. You can ask them behind the counter what you want, and they'll tell you exactly, as opposed to just smoking something you don't really know what's going to happen.
Just the last time I was in Amsterdam and I smoked weed, I got an awful jocker on. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord.
Please do tell.
Oh, well, we all struck off we got there for about 7 o'clock in the morning, and being Irish fellas, of course, we started drinking straight away because our hotel wasn't ready for us. So,
I love that start.
Oh, sure. No, yeah, it's just silliness. Like, we just found bars. Sure, we were the life of the party, in our heads anyway. And about the 12 o'clock mark, we got a bite to eat, and we all said we went to a cafe. And a couple of lads rightly knew what they were talking about, you know, when it came to weed. Sure, I knew nothing. And I was smoking fags at the time. And a joint was put into my hand. And I said, sure, look, lovely job. Rather than, I should have taken a pull of it and given it to somebody. No.
Yeah.
Into the claw bag. Sucked the whole fucking thing down in about fucking 30 seconds. I swear that shit didn't worth the fuck to me. And as it hit me, it was a beautiful fucking high, right, for a good half an hour. And I remember I was drinking a can of 7-Up and thinking, Jesus Christ, I don't know what, lads, what are they putting into the 7-Up here? Because this is some fucking 7-Up. It's the nicest stuff I've ever tasted. And one of the seasoned lads was going, that'll be all the drugs you just fucking smoked, Tom. I went, Eric, wait to fuck. And I started taking things real serious then. No, lads, you don't understand. And, but, and one of the lads then, it wasn't Dave. Dave went into the Jacks to take a dump. The Jacks was out of order. And he was in an awful way. He was going to shit his pants. And the whole group of lads were roaring laughing at Dave. But because I was in serious...
the poor fucker.
Yeah. But that's exactly the attitude I had. But I got real serious and I became his mother all of a sudden. I went, shut up, ye shower of cunts. Dave's going to... In front of the whole cafe, I went, poor Dave is going to shit all over himself if I don't find that man a toilet. To be fair, I don't know if Dave was overly thankful for my superhero moment, but I took him.
Was he touching cloth? Was he?
Oh, he was fucking prairie dogging. He was prairie dogging.
Oh no! Turtleneck City.
He was touching cloth. So I took him by the hand out the door, and Dave, he was even more stoned than me. He was happy to be dragged along. I went to this. The more I think about this, middle of the day, like these two fucking clowns, and we were walking. I can only imagine because I was walking down the road with my feet as if I had big fucking clown shoes on or something. I can remember my feet going, they're not working right. Fuck it, I'll keep going. And we must have tried 3 or 4 different places, shops, and we got to this pub. And I says, Dave, there'll be a toilet in here now. It's a pub. I'll go in and buy a small beer, and you go downstairs and take your dump, okay? He goes, okay. So we walked in the door, and in the time it took to get from the door to the bar, which is about 4 seconds, Dave had already forgotten what to do. So I get to the bar, I said, hello, madam. And madam was wearing a shirt like I'm wearing now with no sleeves and had a tighter haircut than I had. This is quite a lesbianic woman behind the fucking counter. Mm-hmm. And she says, yeah. I says, one small beer for myself, and expecting that he was gone to the Jacks already. I turned around, Dave was still standing there going, what do I do next? I went, Dave, I only told you 4 seconds ago, go take a shit. Mm-hmm. Now, I probably said that way louder. I thought that was my whisper voice. So Dave went down to the toilet and I ordered my beer, and then I fell asleep on the counter because I'd been up since fucking 3 o'clock that morning. And and I only know I fell asleep on the counter because Dave was downstairs dumping his guts out, and he could hear me upstairs being shouted at by the big angry woman behind the counter telling me to wake the fuck up. And poor Dave started to get very ill of the smell of his... I just turned into this, and next thing all he could hear was about the 10th time she woke me up, and Dave couldn't leave the toilet because just everything was coming out of him. And the final one was me waking up and go, would you relax the fuck, girl, would you? Poor old Dave is just shitting down there, for fuck's sake. Because at that point, Dave knew he better get himself tidied up some which way and get out of the premises, because I was got fucked straight through the door by this. She came out from behind the counter. I thought there was a raised floor inside the counter because she looked about 6'4".
You're tall.
It was not a raised floor. That was the actual floor. This one walked out. Oh my Jesus Christ Almighty!
Jacked up to the last.
Jacked up. This one had more testosterone than I had. Do you know what I mean? She was, and she had an anchor tattoo on her fucking hand. You know, she was...
And what happened? She threw you out on the main street?
She fucked me straight out because I kept on falling asleep. She could see I was in a fucking lube on, and she didn't want to fucking... this dribbling fucking Egypt from Tipperary fucking flopping all over her counter as some Cork fucker was down in the Jacks scouring all over her fucking toilet for the price of one half beer.
Oh, Christ. When did he land out after...
He did.
What happened?
He did, and he was after cleaning himself up, but he was after sobering some bit. So he then had to leave me back to the cafe. Turns out we'd been gone 2 hours.
Christ.
The boys had fucked off on us. And could we make our phones work? No, we couldn't. Oh, it was
nothing worse. There's nothing worse than smartphones when you're on holiday because they don't fucking last more than 3 or 4 hours.
It all went to hell in the handbasket after that. There's a 24-hour period that I need to sit down with you someday and explain the whole 24-hour period in Amsterdam. Yeah. You won't believe 60% of it, but it genuinely happened.
It's a crazy place. Who do we meet over there? You know, Ian Brown, that musician.
Yeah.
We met him when we were over there, and we
Who,
also
the
met
Bucks?
the lad from the Hardy Bucks. Yeah. We met. They met Ian Brown, a few of them, Eddie Durkin, and a couple other lads, and then myself and another lad met. Do you remember that band Puddle of Mud?
Yeah.
Yeah, we met the drummer from that band, and he was hanging out with some woman in a rock bar, and the two of them were just like all over each other. And because the thing about Amsterdam is it's hard to know where the bars are and what's going on. So we were walking up and down alleyways, and we were stumbling across, and I say stumbling, but we were stumbling across the red light district.
Yeah.
We stumbled towards the ATM machine.
Many's a man stumbled into the red light district.
But that's the only way that you can get in there is to stumble into it. And we stumbled back 2 or 3 times. I know. But but one time we went down to one of the cafes and we got some joints and some weed and stuff like that. And then we smoked it and we said, where we're going now? We go to Anne Frank's house. Which was a big mistake because when we were in there, we didn't know whose house it was. We're like, what the fuck are we doing in a line here walking around this house? Yeah. It's potent stuff over there. And I think Ireland would change a fair bit if it was legalised here. For better or for worse.
We started off talking about Mike Tyson and we ended up in fags, and then inevitably we ended up in sexy stories in the red light district in Amsterdam. It was always going to happen.
Tell us more though about the Tyson fight.
Hold on now. Do you know what? I'll Google it. When do they hope to fight? Tyson? No, it would seem there's no date as of yet, but both Roy Jones Jr. and Tyson have agreed to fight.
Right. Is it for, I suppose, probably like a money thing, is it?
Well, they're saying it's going to be 8 rounds and it will be a charity match of some sort. But sure, charity schmarity, they're going to make a fucking blue fortune off the whole thing, like, regardless. But I think...
Yeah.
Now I'll put it to you. What owl fella would you like to see back in sports of some sort? That's say in his 50s or... Go on.
Big Joe Joyce.
Big Joe Joyce, but...
I want to see Big Joe Joyce in the UFC just for one fight.
Please tell me you've seen that song they wrote for him.
I haven't.
Oh, let me just see. Can I get up? I'll seek it. Because I tried finding it for a fella before and he didn't believe me. Now we'll probably get fucking pulled for putting this up because you know the way YouTube are so fucking precious. Like, I'll seek it. Please. Or maybe we won't because it's not like, fucking beautiful. Please tell me this. I have it. Lovely. Oh my God. There's a few fellas have actually fucking sang this. Oh my God. How many fucking views? 150,000 fucking views. Hold on now. I'll get this is beyond glorious, Owen.
It's a traveler's tradition to win an argument with a fight. But for one particular trouble, a man fights away all the time. Trailing on the side of the road, no gym, no ring, no fix the board. Bare knuckle boxing since a whole-year-old boy. From Hallmark country on the lead came Big Joe Joyce. And man, the boat Joyce can land at 6 foot and a half. And his first wheel fight at 16, 40 or more he won't have. He'd leave a base of hospital case with his knuckles bare in intensive care. 50 laps around the track with a lorry van 3 on his back. Shadow boxing and throwing slaps. It's Big Joe Joyce. He steeps his hands and pencils are there like rocks. He'd leave your face looking like a butcher's block. You'll be praying for no leaders out of knock. If Big Joe hits you a box, only the bravest of the bravest stand toe to toe with the whole Joyce. Big Joe.
Beautiful. Do you know what that reminds me of?
What?
There's a documentary out there somewhere, and I forget the name of it, but I think it's called Corridos Mexicanos, and it's about these Mexican lads who write songs for the Mexican cartels. And it's like really good. Like it's kind of like it's not reggaeton, but it's kind of like Mexican rap and very good lyrics to it and all that stuff. And it's kind of like that lad there who wrote that song for Big Joe Joyce. I must listen to it again. What's it called? That Big Joe Joyce song?
Yeah, quite literally, that's it. And anybody go look at this. So the idea the chorus is he soaks his hands in petrol. He'll leave your face looking like a butcher's block, and you'll be praying for novenas. So just to be, I don't think the lads quite understand. I don't believe there was a director on, is what I'm saying. He literally has a pretend can of petrol and pretends to pour it over his hand. That's Big Joe. And then the singer is holding what looks like a chopping board with some blood on it. It kind of looks like the shroud that you're in. And then he has a rosary beads. So he's depicting exactly what's going to happen. He's going to leave your face like a butcher's block.
And who is that lad that's wrote the song about Big Joe Joyce?
Oh, a guy called Huey Joyce has put it up, and I'm guessing let me just see. Miles Gaffney.
Gaffney.
Yeah, I don't know if if that's the sort of, maybe write one for us. Fuck it.
Yeah. You're out there, Miles. Give us a shout.
So so we've had a lot of lads. The last day we were asking questions about where would be the good halfway point for me to lose my pint of virginity all over again. Now there's debates to be had over this. Lads were saying, yes, there's halfway marks, but there's also, fucking good spots to be going to. Apparently Roscommon is halfway between where I am and Belmullet. So,
yeah.
I mean, because at first I was thinking Swinford and here should I probably be Athlone, but then you're on another hour and a bit again. Like, so I'd say Roscommon.
That's the thing, you see, yeah.
If you were saying the right place to go would be Athlone, but I've drank in Athlone and we might just leave that where it is.
There's a few spots there though on Athlone. I don't know if it's Athlone town or where is it, but I think I had a gig there not long ago. I remember thinking the town is very lively itself. I forget the name, but there's a lot of towns in Ireland that I've never heard of before, and I've only heard of just before lockdown when I was driving around a place and I'd see a town and I couldn't believe some of the towns I came across in Ireland. Like a lot of them have like a lot of double towns in Ireland with the same name.
Oh, sure, there's the world of new towns, and there's about 50 Newcastles around the place, sure.
Yeah. Ballynaz, Kesselbars.
Is there more than one Castlebar?
Yeah, I've came across a few, I think another one, but they had it slightly spelled differently. I think it was Castlebare.
Oh, right. Because I know there's a Ballina in Tipperary. Beyond the border,
right, yeah.
The border of Clare and Tipperary. Yeah. And many's a time it gets mistaken for not that one, or whatever, the other way around. But no, actually Athlone's an all right spot. It's it's actually a lively enough out spot. I think I've gigged there a few times and it's been smashing. But I think we went on a company retreat with a crowd of fuckers I worked with that I didn't actually like one time. They were just a dose.
Gotcha.
And I think it just soured it in my head. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Roscommon, never ever have I drank in Roscommon. I performed there once in the Roscommon town hall. It's a hall of some sort. I performed there once, but I never ever drank there. What kind of spot is Roscommon? Just the pints like everywhere else, I suppose.
Yeah, no, there's some nice towns there. I'm trying to think what's the best town I've been to. There's a town called Ballydreen, and it's kind of on the border of Mayo and Roscommon. And sometimes the lads that are born in Ballydreen, they'll play for Mayo County. But I think on the map, Ballydreen would be in Roscommon. So that's a big enough town. Let me just check the phone and see. But because I think meeting somewhere in the middle,
I like
recording a podcast would be good fun.
Yeah.
What's your closest spot? What would I put into the phone?
Enniskerry or Bray, one or the other.
Oh, geez, I didn't realise you were in Enniskerry.
Yeah.
I have mates there now, so I do.
In Enniskerry, have you?
I do indeed.
Are they your Protestant friends?
I don't know what denomination they are, but I don't think they're Protestant anyway.
There's Protestant.
They're born again cruel, man. Born again cruel bastards.
No, it's there's quite a lot of wealthy people around here. I'm not one of them. I think I'm token. I think they all get a grant for having me around the place, I think. So,
really?
have you a blue line on the map? Tell me this.
Blue line, but I'm trying to see. Roscommon, Longford, it seems.
Oh, fuck it. I did have a good, I went out a good few times in Longford, all right. Fucking, it's a town of hard men. It's
a lot of town with hard men in Ireland where you'd be walking around and you'd be thinking, geez, I need to be cute here.
Yeah. There's although we had a great night one night. We were rained off a job. We were working there and we were fucking rained off for 3 days solid. It was pissing down. And on this, it was a fucking wet Tuesday or Wednesday night. A few of us said, will we go for a couple of pints? Because it's dangerous on the rained off. You're still getting paid, like. So, and you've nothing to do. So you're going, fuck. You know. So we went for a couple of pints and we said, we'll go handy now. We're only going out 3 or 4 tops. We will have work in the morning. We'll have something to do in the morning. And we were on our fucking 3rd pint and we were all kind of looking going, this place is dead as fuck. Will we just tip away home? Because we were all in rented accommodation. We're away from the job. And lo and behold, I swear to God, this darkness came over me, the height of the man that was standing beside me. And American accent. He must have been 6'5". He says, I'll have 2 pints of Guinness and can I get 2 paddies and whatever the boys are drinking as well. And a fear came over me at first because when somebody says something like that, it's like, oh, he's going to bait or there's something. It's just the Irishness in me was gone. There's no way. There's a catch somewhere. Do you know what the catch was? It was Will fucking Ferrell and his father.
Ah, no way.
Swear to God. And he bought us. Wow. We were trying to buy him a drink back and going, Jesus, you know, he was just. But I swear to God, the town was dead. The name of the pub was Valentine's. And within, I'd say, 8.5 minutes, the pub was fucking full. Every cunt in Longford came up the fucking road. He did. And he threw the card behind the counter. I says, go on. Drink.
Did he fuck?
He fucking did. He fucking did. But I went up to him.
And did he stick around?
He stuck around for a good 2 hours, yeah. But I couldn't, do you know what I mean? You couldn't fucking keep bleeding it. Well, now fellas did. They were doing the fucking dog on it, like. Do you know? Yeah. They still nearly had the fucking slippers on, like, and they were ordering fucking double vodkas and Red Bulls.
But at the same time, like, I'd say half the reason why he put the card in behind the bar was because it's a good story. Like, if he said, hey, I went to Ireland and I bought drink for everyone in the pub. If they said, oh, how much did it cost? And he said, oh, it just cost €60. It wouldn't sound as epic as him saying, I spent 10 grand in a pub in one night in wherever it was. Was it Longford, did you say?
Longford town, yeah.
Jeez, what was he doing there?
His people are from that neck of the woods.
Oh, very good. Very good.
So there was talks he was going to buy a spot there, all right, like, but sure, the man is worth a fortune. Like, sure, he could have bought whatever he fucking wanted. Like, he could have bought the town if he wanted, like.
Do you know what I find very funny? Did you ever see Sex and the City?
Yes, yeah. Not a lot of it.
Yeah, Sarah Jessica Parker and her hubby, Michael Broderick, I think his name is. They have a gaff up there.
Martin Broderick, yeah.
Maybe Martin Broderick, yeah. They have a house up there in Donegal. They'd be just spinning around the town. And
1 minute.
Sheep and all that stuff.
Didn't he fucking run somebody down?
I think he had a dodgy dealing with some car accident over the years. But I think he might have got away with it.
Yeah.
But I think that was in Donegal, was it?
I think it was.
Oh, maybe it was. I thought it could be either America, but I think now you're right. Yeah, it was Donegal.
Yeah, I think he did. I think having a big name and a few pound, I think he got away with it. I think.
Jesus Christ, it's a dodgy one.
Mm-hmm, yeah. Well, I mean, Daniel Day-Lewis apparently lives somewhere down in Wicklow, like, but you don't see that man spinning around the place. I think he keeps a low pro. I think. You know, I've never met him in Aldi anyway. That's right. For sure. Like, I'd say he's a home delivery man.
Probably is. Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say he's a super value man.
Yeah, I'd say. And when it was open, I'd say he went super Quinn.
Oh yeah.
Or even I'd say, well, he's an honorary Irishman as they call him. Like, but I'd say he'd be partial to now Marks and Spencers. I'd say if it was offered.
Oh, if you got half a chance to be in there and Sainsbury's, he did the full weekly shop. If you got half a chance in Sainsbury's.
The Marks and Spencers always make me laugh anytime I'm in there. They have British potatoes, proudly fucking showing British potatoes. You're like, for the love of fuck, lads, in your PR team, you couldn't have left one yoke off your fucking inventory. One yoke that we do fairly well here, like.
Everyone would be happier. There'd be no one like, I think it'd be better for Marks and Spencer's if they want to sell their potatoes to fucking grow them here. What do you, should we talked about before about that lad from Keogh's who was growing the cannabis plants?
Yeah. The poor old devil, like. But I reckon the family knew full well what he was doing, but he himself went, look at lads, I'm retired, so put all the blame on me. You'd be guaranteed they knew full well what he was up to. He was he was sounding out the market for medicinal marijuana, and he wants to be ahead of the game because they have the greenhouses to grow it, they have the fields to grow it, they have the means, and they have the will. He's spot on. Within 5 years, medicinal marijuana is going to be totally grown here. And he dead right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Tis the fucker that grasped on him, though. Some bastard grasped on him.
I know. I think apparently someone from the public could see in. They could see the plans from the outside. And that's the person, somebody from the public randomly reported him.
And that's their civic duty. Imagine that. Looking in at some old boy.
Yeah.
Fucking rolling an old Dubestein, as you'd call him yourself. And fucking, you're going to call the guards. You've little to be fucking doing, like.
Yeah, it's a bit fucking much, all right.
So tell me this and tell me the more. Tell me your news. You took local news this week.
I did. There's two bits of news that I wanted to combine, and it actually goes back, funnily enough, to Donegal.
Back to Donegal again.
Donegal. And the jackdaw turned up in the Carrigan area in recent days, and some lad from Birdwatch said he'd never seen a fully white crow and said the finding is very, very rare. Beautifully fabulous, striking bird. And now it's gone again. But you don't really see them that often. But this is a white crow. And it's not an albino crow, but it's actually a white crow. And they live up to 10 years. Can you believe that? And that's also tied in with the fact that Joe Duffy, the fighter, has retired this week from MMA. So I wanted to give him a shout out. He's a legend. I met him before in Donegal. I forget the name of the town, but it was on the outskirts of Donegal, somewhere on the coast. And it was the most rugged pub I think I've ever met men in before. And these are Donegal lads. And, you know, they're as tough as it comes. So I shot a video with Joe Duffy in a pub on the coast of Donegal. We had a few cans and just wanted to give him a shout out to say, best luck in the retirement, Joe.
Tell me this before we go back to the crow / jackdaw / white crow. Joe Duffy, it's a tough name to push out there in the public domain, regardless of your discipline, whatever it is. I mean, forever. He'd have to go to America and fight, because if he was just doing something here, he could never stick around with a name like Joe Duffy, because they go, talk to Joe. You know what I mean? It's
yeah.
Jeez, why didn't he go with Joseph altogether, or Joey Duffy, or he just stuck with the Joe? I mean,
I think he goes with Joseph, but people kind of like no more than myself tend to just go Joe Duffy, you know. Yeah.
One of the few men to ever beat Conor McGregor.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I actually went over to Montreal one time and to spend time with Rory McDonald and Joseph Duffy or Joe Duffy, but great crack.
He should have piped up a bit more and probably, you know. He should have thrown on that saddle first, that he was the only, for the longest time, he was the only man to have beat Conor McGregor. I mean, I would have been shouting that from the fucking rooftops if I was him getting a bit of fucking stage time, like, you know. Who wouldn't have seen?
Yeah.
You know, if Dana really caught his imagination, he would have scheduled that fight 4 or 5 years ago. He would have.
Well, I think they were kind of aiming towards it. But that's why when Joe Duffy, he lost to Dustin Poirier, kind of threw that off track a small bit, but he was on the way. I think the next fight after Poirier, if he'd beaten him well, could have been McGregor versus Joe Duffy, somewhere in Ireland, maybe Crow Park or somewhere.
Jeez, yeah, that would have been told a great story all the same. Yeah. Fucking
imagine Joseph Duffy versus Conor McGregor in Crow Park. The whole country would be at the stadium.
It'd be the only way to top that is if they both had Garth Brooks playing their walk-in music.
Yeah.
Imagine Garth Brooks singing fucking The Foggy Jew.
Oh Christ, the whole country would just start fucking floating into space.
We'd fold in on ourselves like a fucking Big Bang Theory. The whole country would actually fold in, and Ireland would no longer exist. We'd be done with speck of fucking I've just it would just fold over on itself and just that would be it. Never again would be, because we'd never be able to reach those sides. Only, Lord of mercy on him, Jack Charlton turning up to actually referee it would have topped that, I'd say.
God. I wonder, imagine you could get the country to, imagine a country imploded after it got to a certain level of success or excitement.
That's what I'm thinking. We get to a level, because Irish people fucking love nostalgia. We fucking hang our coats on nostalgia. I know comedians whose whole fucking remit is, wasn't it gas back in the day when, and that's their whole thing, and they make, truth be told, half of the fucking online magazine, entertainment magazines, I won't name names, but one has a man's name, and it's of the fighter we're talking about. One of the fighters we're talking about right now is the title of their, and a hell of a lot of their stuff is based on nostalgia, because Irish people love it. So if you could wrap in Jack Charlton refereeing, I reckon, and he'd be like, Big John McCarthy / Big Jack would be, you're ready to fight, let's get it on, and then who else could we have? Michael Collins, we bring him back from the dead, and he'd have to be on co-comments.
Have Dennis Irwin on a wooden ladder coming in a helicopter that's been driven by Louis Walsh's brother, who has a helicopter license, apparently. That's how Louis gets down to Mass every Christmas. He gets dropped down in a helicopter.
I love that notion, that Louis comes out of his brother's helicopter.
He does every Christmas. Apparently, he gets dropped down to the church because he doesn't want to walk down.
Where's he from again?
Ketchamaw.
That's only over the road from where you're from, isn't it? It's not far from Swinford anyway.
It is, yes. It's the town over, yeah. But yeah, no, I know what you mean. Joe Duffy, though, I don't know what he's going to do now. He lives over in Montreal, but I'd say he'll stick it out there. It's a nice city.
I'm sure he'll be all right. All them fellas do fine out of the back of it. With the popularity of MMA at the minute, sure, look at, he'll start a Joe Duffy fucking MMA gym. He'd be the finest. But tell me more about, how do we know it was a white crow? Does he have a black beak? Because what's the difference between an albino crow and a white crow? Do you know? Is his beak black? Are his feet black? Are his eyes black?
No, the whole crow is white. Even the clawings on him are white. The beaking on him is white. The heading on him is white. His eyes are beady and they're black, But apart from that, it's all white. But
you said he's definitely not an albino. So how do we know? Is it because his eyes would be pink otherwise, would they?
Let's see what they say here about him not being an albino. This particular jackdaw is a leucistic bird, which means it has some pigment. I think if you're albino, you have no pigment. So that's the difference there. Leucistic. Leucistic.
Right. I had never heard. So is he like a creamy white? You know what I mean?
He's a deliciously clean. If you can imagine a tub of Greek yogurt with a beak and a really nosy face, you pretty much have crow. And it's a beautiful creature, lovely tail on it as well, and a very rare sighting.
Jesus Christ! Well, I'm amazed you didn't get a call to go up and have a look at him, being an expert on crows that you are.
I would have went up on my own whim as well, but I would have loved to have taken a few photos of the very, very rare jackdaw. But not to worry. They're very smart creatures, though. They're called the feathered apes because they have cognitive reasoning. They can put tools together and everything like that. Apparently they sharpen blades and stuff like that, so because they know that it's going to be useful for killing stuff or unhooking stuff. But
I just imagine a crow going, "Come on, you cunt!" holding the fucking knife.
Come on, I'm going to shove you in the fucking jaw, you cunt, yeah. Just fucking outside Tesco, just doing that. Pulling knives on lads outside Tesco.
Shanking lads on Air Square.
Go in there and buy me a pack of fucking fags.
I want players. I want ones with no fucking filters.
I'm a jackdaw, not a schwan now. Get me the fucking John Player Blue.
What would a swan smoke? I suppose he'd smoke.
He'd smoke those tin ones. You know those tin ones you could get the fucking
Vogues,
back in the night.
Or the Moore. Do you remember those ones Moore? They were like a skinny cigarette or a skinny cigar. Do you remember them? There was mint ones and red ones as well. And only fellas with a few pounds used to smoke them fucking things. And a swan, if any bird has a few pound on him, a fucking swan has a few pound on him.
Well, swans, as they say, they're just geese with notions.
That's what they are, geese with fucking notions. What did we say before? They were fucking Protestant fucking geese. In my news this week, well, it's not my fucking news, it's everywhere. Apparently, Owen, we're to be joined by some fucking little green men. The Pentagon, they have made it clear and obvious that, which I'll get it up for you there now. This is the, 1 second, I will share the page for you. 1 second, here we are. So yeah, essentially what they've done is they've said, look at lads, we can't keep this a secret any longer. They have said that no longer in the shadows, Pentagon's UFO unit, they have a UFO unit in the Pentagon, will make some findings public.
I believe it.
So for over a decade, the program, now tucked inside the Office of Naval Intelligence, has discussed mysterious events in a classified briefings. Now, I don't know, can you see that there? That just like a crosshair. Yeah. So we'll play it there for Owen. There's not a lot to hear, so I'll turn it down, right? I'll turn it down. It's just a kind of the fuzziness. It's a bad old camera, and with a bit of a... Now, they're zooming in on a starry-shaped yoke. It's after lighting up like fuck. Now, apparently that little bean-shaped yoke that's off in the distance on is travelling at a rate of fucking knots that the yoke can't keep up with. This is the one they call the Tic Tac. I don't know. They were talking about it a couple of weeks ago on Joe Rogan. And your man was saying the Tic Tac, they call it. The fucking thing could pull a handbrake in the sky at 1,000 miles an hour at 90 degrees and be gone like a fucking bullet in any direction. And they couldn't pick up any heat signature off the thing because apparently it's perishing cold. And like that, anything traveling at that speed should be fucking melting hot. And in 2 seconds, or even half a second, just gone out of their sightline. Now, see this yoke. This is the interesting one. See this thing now. At first, it felt that yoke is clipping along. This is for the people that will see this afterwards. Again, this is like a little dot. This is a fighter plane trying to lock in on it. It finally locks in on this little dot of yoke. That thing is clipping along at it well beyond supersonic, and not a fucking bother to it. Out of nowhere, it just goes fucking missing. Now, my question to you, I will stop sharing that and we can shut down that channel. My question to you is, do you think it's a load of shite? Are they trying to just pawn us off because the world is going to hell in a handbasket? We're going, I swear to God, lads, we've a big old story coming up, and is it to draw our eye one way, or do you buy into this?
Well, I'd say there definitely has to be something out there because there's so many planets and there's so much shite that possibly is out there. Why would humans be the only ones that have created something that goes into space? So I'd say there's definitely something out there, but I don't know. Would I be listening? Would I be believing the FBI for what they're saying? Because it might be a distraction for something that's happening in politics, but I don't know. Mightn't be there. But I definitely believe there's probably some foreign objects out there in space that we don't know about.
Now,
we can't understand. What do you think?
I said to you, when Ireland we said if Ireland reaches a level of happiness, we may fold in on ourselves and implode and become nothing. How much would your brain bend if all of a sudden, same way Leo stood up at the beginning of the pandemic, everybody was around their telly watching him. Imagine now Micheál Martin standing up going, listen lads, we've got something to tell you. I'd like to welcome to the stage Snignog from the third galaxy, and some little fucking grey fella walks up. Now my thinking is this, right? There's a gazillion fucking galaxies out there. There's a gazillion planets and all those galaxies. There's definitely going to be something growing that can walk around and fucking talk to each other. But what in the fuck would draw them here? How would they end up here? What I reckon they are, if they are not of this earth that they think, I reckon they're tiny little humans from about 2 million years in the future are coming back for a look to try and stop us fucking killing ourselves. What do you reckon? We've evolved into those little grey fellas, and that's what we are. Because we don't need muscles no more. We just need big fucking brains. And we're coming back. Because apparently these lads have stopped a few fucking nuclear fucking silos going off around the place. They've back during the Cold War, they floated over a few of these American silos and Russian silos full of fucking nuclear fucking rockets, and they've shut them down. They've deactivated them a few times. to kind of go, don't be fucking setting them yokes off.
If they had the ability, though, to do that and get up close to like American or Russian military power, would they not just remove all that military power and just say, you know, you got to start again, lads. You can't keep making military equipment.
But sure, isn't it like what they call the butterfly effect? Do you remember, even in The Simpsons, when you step on something?
Yeah.
You know, in the future, it might end up being a disaster. So maybe they're trying to keep it as minimum, keep it as small as possible.
It's hard to know. I don't know. Do you reckon we need all that military stuff?
No.
Is that the inevitable way that the world is going?
No, we don't. I don't think we need any. Aren't Ireland getting along grand with like 3 guns and a fucking helicopter? Do you know, we're getting along grand. We don't need all that stuff at all. But I am excited. Are you excited by the notion of aliens or an alien craft showing up? I mean, we all watched those sci-fi movies growing up.
Oh yeah, I am. I would love nothing more than something from space to come down here and talk to us, or something from somewhere out there. But the thing is, like, the only options, it seems to be the only options are either there's nothing out there, which makes our life even more crazy, or else there is something out there which makes our life even more crazy. So either of those options are pretty nuts, I think. So
he lands the ship, Mayo lands the ship accidentally in your front garden, right? Yeah. It's look it make us a sandwich. And you're like, all right, fuck it, grand. He's been traveling for fucking a billion fucking light years. I'm hanging with the hunger. You make up old fucking Willie a sandwich, and he says, look, I'm going to show you inside the ship. And I'm going to show you the coolest shit in the world. But you got to promise me something. Never, ever, ever tell anybody. Or you can tell anybody about this moment right now. Or you come inside the ship and you never tell a soul again. Would you be able to stick with it? Would you look inside the ship?
Oh, good question. The options are I can look inside the ship but not tell anybody, or else not look inside the ship and tell everybody.
Yeah.
I'd say I'd probably look inside the ship but then come out and not tell anyone for a week. Then it'll be all over Facebook. I met a lad from space, boys.
You'd welcome him in and just try and fucking get some hash into him. So could you fucking slow him down a small bit?
I want to be the first man to ever smoke space hash. But I don't know. I don't know what I'd do. I'd probably have a look inside the machine, but then I wouldn't tell anyone because chances are they'd be listening or watching my conversations anyway. So I wouldn't want to play with fire.
You'd never know too, like, because there's no end to their power. Like, you know, when you think, hold on, he fucking flew across a galaxy. Jesus, you probably have the power for me to wake up tomorrow morning with no cock. Do you know what I mean? Like these things.
But why haven't they been in contact with us more often? Like, why isn't it a bit more obvious the contact that these people are having with us in space? Like, why is there no footage of proper foreign objects in space? Unless, of course, they're trying to contact us at a different frequency and we can't actually tune into it yet.
The only people in South Kerry have to fucking have the radio waves to get Michael Healy Ray and Danny Healy Ray are talking tomorrow. Well, listen here. We have the aliens. Imagine the fucking aliens met Michael Healy Ray. You know, he was the first one they met. Or Danny, Lord God came down and he told me there was an alien below. You know, that was the first representative they fucking met. Like, I'd say the best man.
Get on fairly well.
The best man to put him onto would probably be old Elon. He's a bit of a fucking alien himself anyway. Like, so you just go. I won't talk to you guys until you talk to Elon. Come in, Elon. Have a word with these lads here.
He seems like the man that's got all the answers, I think.
Well, so supposedly so, but yeah, I'm fucking Jesus. I'd fucking love there to be aliens. I'd fucking love it. I'd love it more than most things. Yeah, I'd fucking love it. I don't know why.
I'm surprised you haven't gone down the path of prepping. Like, I thought there might be a bit of a prepper in you in the sense of like storage of stuff, you know.
You're saying that because of my moustache and my mullet, aren't you?
Yeah, and the shirt, yeah. Like a lumber, like but I mean, that's a good thing. I think it's a good thing to be able to know how to survive.
I have a bit. I have a bit. No, I'd have a bit. I mean, I own a couple of weapons. I own a couple of guns. So, I mean, we'll start there. Do you know, I'll just call to your house. If you
I have to shoot off, and by the way, in 10 minutes.
Oh yeah, no, cheers. We can get wrapped so in a minute. So I would, but I do think the prepping thing, but that's for another podcast. I definitely have prepper tendencies, and I've definitely watched a lot of programs and whatnot, and I go, look at this stupid fucker, like Doomsday Preppers. Have you watched that on Netflix?
Yeah.
Oh Lord.
I have. I love those shows. Love them.
I fucking love them.
I always think it's a bit stupid what they're doing, but then I also think, you know what, maybe they could be right in 10 years' time. They're the only ones with a couple of tins of beans for us.
Yeah, well, the way I think about it is that I have a couple of guns on, and like I said, if you have all the beans and I have a gun, now I have all the beans. Do you know what I mean? Like, so.
Yeah. You're an evil bastard.
Look, I'm not. I don't want to be an evil bastard, but if I'm pushed to the pin of my collar, I'm coming for your beans. So we'll wrap up. I have 1 second now. Where do I have them? I thought I'll get the questions up there. So we had a couple of questions coming in, and I'm definitely after fucking losing them, but I'll pop them up here now. 1 second.
No worries.
We got a couple of people. Yeah, a couple of people were just saying hello. I always laugh at that.
How are you getting on, folks?
Yeah, it's a genuine question in some cases. But I do laugh when we go, have you got any questions? Yeah. How's it going? Well, that's not really... Okay, technically it is a question. So, okay, I can only find one page of them here, since how we'll wrap ourselves up soon enough. So, Franchi Python, fair play, he's back again. And this isn't a bad one. What do you think about the Yanks coming to the country on holiday while we're still trying to socially distance? What do you make about that, Owen?
Oh, well, I think that nobody should be travelling right now, it seems to be. So I don't see why, whether they be Yanks or anyone else, really, they should stay at home for a while and wait for this all to blow over and then hop on a plane.
I was talking
really.
Yeah, I was talking with the mother there down at home, and a neighbour of theirs. They won a weekend away down in Killarney. I said, sure, look, to be safe enough to finally use that. They went down to stay in a fucking nice hotel in Killarney. And
wow.
But they were checking in, and the lady was at the counter, who the mother knows, and didn't a bus, a Northern Irish bus, fucking unload a load of white-haired fuckers with baseball caps and white trainers and jeans. You know who I'm talking about. Fucking Yankee Doodles. Yeah. Came down off the bus, and Johan says, excuse me, 1 second, are those Americans? She went, they are, yeah. And they're checking in here? They are, yeah. Give me back my card. Cancel that. And we're fucking gonna, no fuck away. Wow. She wasn't sticking around. And you wouldn't blame the woman.
I don't know. I thought the airports were meant to be closed. I don't know what's happening with that. It seems a bit strange, though.
They're flying into Belfast, though.
Oh, I gotcha. Is that what's happening?
Yeah.
I gotcha
yeah.
Now. Yeah, fair enough. Well, Frothy Python, thanks again for the message. But I think that, the right thing for the person to do is take your own personal responsibility and stay at home until it's all blown over. Yeah,
thanks for that one. So, Rob Conway, I'm after missing about 3 pages of questions here, but you're looking, we've stuff to be doing on a Sunday night. Oh, this is a good one. This is deep to a certain degree. If you met as strangers today, what would your first impressions be of each other? That's
a good one.
That's a good one, isn't it? I'd say
we get on fairly well, I'd say, but it definitely would be in a pub.
For sure.
We met up,
Yeah.
I think that's the first place we would have met if it was Galway days or whatever. Maybe the sites.
Possibly the sites. Yeah, possibly the sites. Sure, if we met on the sites, we'd be fucking powerful. We'd get on to each other. But as first impressions, because I never really vocalized my first impressions of most people. Although, do you know, I tend to vocalize, if I met a right sound fella like yourself, I go, I hear his sound. That's how I vote. Unless you met a mad lunatic. But yeah, I'd say first impressions. Yeah. Colgan, staggeringly handsome. Do you know, they had a great phrase in Cork when I worked in the buildings that it was like a nod and a wink, and it was almost like a cult-like handshake that even the dog is sitting up for this bit. It was almost like a cult-like handshake when the description of a fella, if you knew he was on board, was you'd look around, and it was almost, at first I thought it was like a white supremacist thing or something. They'd look over each other's shoulder and they go, he's one of our own. And at first I was going, what do you mean one of our own? Is he, what? Are we gay? Are we all gay? But it got explained again, pure Cork. there was absolutely nothing to it other than his sound out. And basically you can say you can say whatever to this fella and he'll be spot on. He's not a soft touch, like he'll be grand. Do you know?
Yeah.
Literally, you could sit down and go for pints on this fella and nobody would be upset this fella. You know, to be delighted he showed up. So one of our own is that bloke. But for age...
That happened on the sites, would it?
Yeah. Do you know if a fella was a complete fucking oddball? You're going, here, what's the crack with your man? Like, one description, there was a canteen of us and a manager, you know, site managers. There was 4 or 5 different managers from different parts of the site. Big old fucking site. One of them I was on. And one fella, he was as odd as 2 left fucking feet. He really was. Harmless old devil, but there was something off. And I couldn't work it out. And I said to one of the lads, very straight-laced fella, and his favourite phrase is that he's one of our own. I said, is he one of our own? He went, absolutely not. Absolutely not. By total fluke, about 10 years later, I was gigging down in Cork one night, and we went for a drink afterwards, and up walked a lady, a man dressed as a lady, a trans woman.
Right.
And lo and behold, it was that site manager. Yeah, he walked up and introduced himself, and he says, Karina or something. He'd given himself the name. I'm paraphrasing, it wasn't that. But it was an abbreviation of his male name. And he went, how are you? I says, well, how are you? Turns out, yeah, he wasn't one of our own to a degree.
Did he get the flute chopped, or was it...
Oh, no, I think he was still only dabbling. I don't think he...
Okay.
He was in his 50s. Should have been no point in fucking changing the gearbox at that stage. The fucking, that fucking horse is... That horse is well and truly bolted. Like, you're not putting that toothpaste back in the tube, like, do you know?
And you met him in a pub and he was dressed up. Well, he wasn't just on a stag do or anything like that.
No, he wasn't. No, he had the full fucking... He looked half... Like, he looked fair rough, like, for a bird, like, but, do you know, like, he was doing the best he could with the situation, like, do you know?
Well, sure, fuck it, if he's happy.
I got him a fucking white wine spritzer or something, or whatever it was, you know, whatever he was drinking that night. I got him on and wished him well. But,
wow.
Yeah.
Goes to show you, if you want to change your life, you can change it no matter what way you want.
This man was in his 50s. He was dead right. He was dead right to do whatever fucking suited him, you know what I mean? But yeah, I think to answer the question, my first impression of Owen would be, I'd say 110%. Sure, my first impression of you was the first night. I think we hadn't properly met until that night we drove back from Jobestown that night. I dropped you into town.
That's right, yeah.
And
that's the first impression I have of you. I thought you were sound chicken, and it was nice to come into town with you, because I don't know how I was planning to get back into town that night from Jobstown, but I think you gave me the lift back into town, so I was appreciative of that because it took the edge off the journey back. Yeah,
well, I knew you. It wasn't in my direction at all, but I said, I recognized what it was. Me, you, and a bunch of they were local comedians, dubs, and I figured
Paul Marsh was there as well.
Was Marsh there as well? No, he wasn't there that night. No, he wasn't.
Gary Lynch. It was Gary Lynch, I think.
Gary Lynch was there, and Billy DeGorsey and probably Joe Dowling. And
that's right, they were. Billy DeGorsey and Joe Dowling.
I could see by the head in you. I said, that man needs to spin back into town, like, because there's a wild fucking gig. And it was almost like, do you know, it's nearly like a brother. I was like, sure, you couldn't leave the man out in fucking Jobestown and I have a set of wheels, for fuck's sake. I said, you know, you couldn't leave a fella standing on the road. How the fuck would you even get out of the place anyway? Do you know?
I have no idea how to get out there. No idea. My memory is shocking, but I think I must have got the Lewis or bus out there.
Yeah. And even still, you're taking your fucking life in your hands, going, you know. Yeah.
But no, that's the first impression I have of you, and it was a good one. But and then another time we had a gig in Trinity College together, and I'd seen you plenty of times before that, but when I seen you again, I was like, oh yeah, there's a man who I can sort of connect with.
That's right. It was like some weird debate or something, wasn't it?
Yeah. What was the thing they proposed that? The look, I think something to do with your looks. Your looks affect your grades in school or something like that.
It was, the debate title was, it's either yay or nay, yay or against. It is very, very important to be good looking. That's what it was. But we did a gig together one night. It was kind of, I don't know who booked it or put it together, but it was kind of it was Colchi night or something. It was upstairs in the Halfpenny Inn, and Salmon came on the scene.
Yes.
I don't know.
I booked that night, I think.
Did you book that night? How did I? Did you book me, or how did?
I think I did. I think I got onto you on Facebook and I sent you a message asking, would you do a gig in the Halfpenny? I was running. I wanted to get into stand-up comedy, so I was running every Sunday in the Halfpenny. But Salmon used to come up to me some Sundays and he'd do stand-up with me.
Yeah. I remember that.
Good though. He was good. I thought anyway.
I liked him. He was weird as fuck. And I like that.
Yeah.
I like that weirdness. You know what I mean? There was an awkward silence every so often. Like, and I went, I like this. Because people don't know what to do at that moment. Like, you know, he's just like, he's contemplating the next thing he's going to say. And he just leaves
like, as opposed to it being funny, it was almost like a performance piece where like people were looking going, what bits do I laugh at here? But it was so funny. Like the whole thing was packaged together very funny. Because he didn't even take the microphone out of the stand.
No.
And the way he kind of leaned over into it, it was just fucking brilliant, I thought.
Yeah, I liked him. I like that. There was a weirdness to it. Like there was and I found myself then. I went up on stage and like between yourself and himself, I went, I need to talk about masturbation more. This is way funnier than the stuff I was thinking, because I find it funny that, and because you'd been talking about wanking or something, I went, fuck man, I'm going to go up and talk about wanking as well, because this is way funnier than what I was planning on talking about.
I've been talking about wanking for the last 15 years, it seems. Every year of my life, it's a very important part. And I'm thinking, is that the art reflected in my real life or vice versa?
Jesus
Nobody
Christ.
will ever know. Except the wife.
I don't know what that means, but I like it.
Me neither, but it sounded right.
On that delightful fucking wanking note. So that answers that question. Anyway, we can actually tell you what our actual first impressions of each other sound out. Hence why we ended up with a podcast together. You know the drill, everybody. Review, fucking share, give it the 5 stars, tell your mother about it. We're not pushing it on you at the moment in the way of Patreon pages. Owen obviously has his podcast. I have my podcast. So if you want to support either one of us in that venture, what we're going to purposely do to properly entertain you is when this all shit drops, myself and Owen are going to set up some live shows around the place. Again this week, Owen, they want us down in Kerry, they want us in Cork, and we're wanted in Clare as well. We're also wanted in parts of Wicklow. And people in Ennis.
Oh, beautiful. They're my 5 favourite counties in Ireland.
Good, because there's people in Louth want us as well. And I bet you that's right. That's right up there
that's
as
a
well.
different list. That's a specialised list.
So it seemed, the appetite is out there. So thank you very much to everybody who's shared and gotten in contact. Feel free to send us screen grabs, I suppose, and maybe if you're listening to it up in the tractor or if you're listening to it in fucking the surgery. I'm not suggesting that we have many people who are professional surgeons listen to us, but you'd never know, Owen. You'd never know.
And you're very fucking welcome.
Apparently, people are doing a lot of walking. That's a lot of the messages I see coming in. People going, thank fuck, this is getting me through me walk. It's like I didn't realise walking was so harrowing.
Walking is it's the most untalked about sport in Ireland, where people go out power walking, and half of it's gossiping, half of it's to get the blood pumping in the body, and half of it's to be outside. And that's 3 halves. That makes no sense at all. But
that absolutely makes sense, because we're after a world pandemic, just coming out the other end of it, and we're about to be visited by fucking aliens. Aliens who won't know what to do with our floating fucking chicken farms. Do you know? So, fucking hell.
Just wash your hands and look after each other. That's all you can do.
So we will be eventually coming your way. But the most important thing is that you keep listening, telling your family and friends about it. Or Owen will be around your house with 2 of the fastest fucking knuckles you've ever seen. What?
Douche.
Douche. I'm going to make that as the text tone just for when you message me. Douche.
Yeah. That's the warning call I give outside when I'm in people's gardens and I'm calling to collect a debt. All you'll hear from the garden is a loud douche. Then the money has to be left on the kitchen table, or else someone's getting it.
Or for 80 quid a time, Owen will actually leave you a personalised voice message with just douche and your name. So you can write a check to the Harden Up Podcast and throw it up the internet and send it to myself and Owen as Owen sends you. 80 quid I think is fair, isn't it, for a personalised
80 quid, and for an extra 20 quid I'll throw in a picture of my balls if you want.
You had to
I have
go
any
there.
season you want: autumn, winter, summer, spring collection.
I've seen the spring collection, people, and I'm not cutting you. You're in for a treat.
Very fresh. Very much everything's opening up, a bit like spring itself.
Oh, fuck.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm delighted you did that. I was going to, in my first thought was, I might have to edit that out. Why the fuck would I edit that out?
Yeah, fuck it.
That's not happening. Right, Owen, as always, this has been
Tom,
delicious.
take care of yourself. Great to chat to you. Thanks everyone for listening.
Thank you very much. Good luck.